smaller units. And that will go over like a lead balloon.
I heard that at the meeting.
Always have. Want me to get it for you? I always have pen. I don't have.
I'll go next door and get some more.
No, don't bother. Don't bother.
Excuse me, good evening.
All right, good. I'm late.
Oh, this is so nice.
Yes,
All the new board members.
are coming in person.
Yeah,
Excellent.
right.
Clayton, if you want to sign in there, there's a sign, and then there's also a calendar and a list of committee descriptions.
Yes. It doesn't matter, Barry, I still have to go next door, I don't have.
Okay. Perfect.
Shall I tell our presenters if they could come in first? Because I would be around, I have to be remote, but
Up to Liz then. I mean,
why don't I just tell them?
we're doing 1727 on the 5th though, right?
Yeah.
When are we
They
doing?
can't do the fifth,
Oh.
the 13th.
13th.
Both.
We also have NYCHA coming the 13th. Well. And the text amendment.
I know, I'm telling him 15 minutes and 5 questions.
You and I know that is not gonna work.
I tried, I give them.
Okay.
I give them.
And it won't be them who violates the limits. It'll be us and the public. One of the ones with lots of vowels.
One of them.
Her mother passed away though. Yeah. Yes, actually, while Yutha is getting some supplies set up, the camera is on. All right, let me get us set up on the actual device. There we go. Okay, much better. So good evening, folks. For those who are joining us remotely, my name is Barry Weinberg. I am currently the chair of Manhattan Community Board 9 for the next 16 days. Who's counting? But welcome to tonight's Candidates Night, where we will be hearing from the slate of folks running to be officers of the board for the next 2 years. So the folks elected on June 15th will serve as officers through 2025. And Laquita, I don't want to steal your thunder. You are the elections committee co-chair, I guess. Seeing as your co-chair, not reappointed. So would you like to give us an introduction?
Yes, I'm sorry. I've been trying to get on since 6:20.
Hold on, Laquita. Let me just fix the audio here. All right, go ahead now.
Okay, I apologize, but I've been trying to get on since 6:20. I hope there may be others, I'm not sure what happened.
You're right on.
But are there 11 of us? Am I correct in seeing that? I'm not sure if we want to wait, but let's see the committee members who are here. Elections committee. I see Tina is here. Juan is here.
Laquita, there are people there in person as well.
And can you let me know who's there on the elections committee?
Laquita, do you want me to call a roll?
Say that again.
Laquita, do you want me to call a roll?
That would be great.
All right. Yeah. Here, I've got it on my phone too. Okay. One moment. Large font roll call. Thank you. Adams, April Adams. Joyce Adewume. Walter Alexander. Edley Antoine. Welcome. Edley is a new member on the board.
Officially, Idli.
Idli,
Idli with an L.
Idli,
Idli.
Idli, got it, Idli. All right, I will get that. Some of us, it will take longer, but Idli Antoine is present in person. Jane Arundel, Miriam Aristi Ferrer, Chris Berry, Tricia Caldwell, Daniel Cohen, Juan Colmenares.
I'm here.
Juan is here virtually. Carlton Davis, Sharon Dela Cruz. I saw- Welcome. Sharon is here virtually. Sharon is a new member. Miss Marita Dunn, Elizabeth Eastman, Victor Edwards
Here.
is here in person. Sean Farrow, Lydia Gerson, Daria Hardiman.
Present.
Hi, Daria. Daria is here virtually.
Hi.
Monique Harding Cordero.
As present.
Monique is here virtually. Laquita Henry, we've heard from, is the Elections Committee Chair. Michael Iglesias is here in person. Heather Jason. Derek Johnson, Dr. Johnson. Patricia Watler Johnson. Pat. Tiago Keel.
Present.
Tiago is here virtually. Ted Kovalev, who we just heard. Where did Ted go? Oh. Ted was joining us. May have fallen off. Tina Lumley.
Here.
John Martin Green. Deirdre McIntosh Brown.
Here present.
Deirdre is here virtually, I should do. Oh. Ilana Mercado. She's back. Ken Miles. Matilde Munguia. And please correct my pronunciation if I got that wrong, but you're on mute. Miss Manguia, Mangaya? Like she's on a train. But I see her here virtually. Reverend Morgan Thomas, Juanito Sovalle, Solomon Prophet.
I'm present.
Great. Carolina Ramirez. Patricia Ramos.
Here.
Great. We have Annette Robinson present in person. Wave, Annette. Thank you. Mir Sadehi. Did I get it right?
Yeah,
What's the last name?
Sadeghi is good.
All right. Clayton Sanford, here in person. Jonathan Sinigub. Carolyn Thompson. I know, I like, we have new people in the room, so I want people to match the name to the face. Hugo Torres Fetzko. Edwin Torres, Dr. Torres. Liz Whiteakis. Francina Waring. Barry Weinberg is here. Shanika Wilson. Elisa Yu. Okay, and let me just go ahead and note because I forgot.
I know you know I'm here, but I don't. think-
Oh, sorry, did I skip a page again? Signy Mortensen. There we go. Signy is here in person. I jumped right over you. For the virtuals. All right, so there's your roll call, Guida.
And and what count do we have? Present total?
1, 2, thank you, Signy. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 of us is my count.
Okay, thank you so much, Chair. So now we can get started with candidates night. Welcome to all those present, our board members, current board members, including the new board members, which I hope we'll all get to see in person in June as well. Thank you all for being here. And we do have our candidates here. And the purpose of this is for voting members to hear them, hear what their ideas are, what their experiences have been on Community Board 9, whether they've had a position or not, and to reflect on what their leadership will mean should they be elected. Our committee members, elections committee members are Tina Lumley, Annette Robinson, Ken Miles, and our newest committee member, Juan Colmenares, who really hasn't had a one-on-one introduction as he will be filling a seat, but I'll be able to talk to him after the meeting or on tomorrow. So we've all been working diligently to get to this point. And just as a reminder, each candidate was to present their intent to run form, which they all did. And along with seconding the intent to run as a nomination, they each had their respective 7 persons supporting their candidacy. So tonight, when we hear from them, unless there's any difference, we will start with the chair and work our way to the 7th position. And each candidate will be asked to talk for about 3 minutes, give an overview of themselves and their work and whatever they want to present to us. And I've asked the committee members by email if they have questions following to, be prepared to present to get the ball rolling. But everyone present is invited to ask a question. I'm thinking that each of the chair positions may take a total of 15 minutes, maybe less, maybe more, depending on questions. And then the following positions may not take more than 7 to 10 minutes altogether. But we should be able to expeditiously get this done. And at the same time, feel that we know the person running for office. So let's start with our candidate for chair, Victor Edwards. And do we have a timer? I'm not, we don't have to be
I
super.
think we'll keep it brief, Guida.
If I make a suggestion, we normally start from the secretary, assistant secretary, and work our way up to chair.
Oh.
If I make that.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine with me doing it that way.
Right.
Okay, so assistant secretary, did you say?
Assistant secretary.
Okay, and the candidate for assistant secretary is Ted Kovaloff.
Should be at the back.
Is Ted back on?
Yes, Ted is on. Ted, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Is Stigny, can you help me remember? Is it *6 or *9?
*9.
Okay.
*6 to unmute, Ted. Well, either that or *9, one of them. You'd figure I'd know it.
Do we need to?
I think he's
Ed?
not. I think he's not
I
connected.
think I
That isn't
heard-
the
I thought I heard
normal
his voice.
mute button. I think his phone has lost
Well,
cell connection.
Ted is dialed in by phone, that's correct, Chicago.
Okay, if we don't, let's see, we could come back to Ted if someone wants to work with.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you, Ted.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, Ted, we hear you now.
Okay, great.
Thank,
I'm sorry to say that for some reason I was unable to get the video, but that doesn't mean that I am any the less interested in serving my community.
welcome, Ted.
Well, thank you, thank you. I think you all know me. I've, what shall we say, been there, done that, and love my community. It's my family, and all I can say is that I want to serve again, and I look forward to being in better health than I was. And I want to say to Solomon, thank you so much for stepping in. This is a classic example of how we all can do things together for our community. So that's all I have to say. I'd just like to answer any questions that folks might have.
Ted, if I could start you off with some questions. We do have a number of new members on the board with us tonight. So by way of brief introduction, could you tell us when you joined the community board and any other milestones in that service?
Barry, you took my thunder.
Sorry.
Okay, go. That was great. No,
I
I'm
will
glad.
tell you that it was 1976 that Percy Sutton appointed me to Community Board 9. Subsequently, I have served as assistant chair, chair for 6 terms. I don't know how many terms as secretary or assistant secretary. If there are certain things that I would like to point out to you that we were able to do, item 1 was the fact that the subway station on the item 1 area was allegedly to be turned into an skip stop. I persuaded DOT that it would be a major mistake to turn the 125th Street station into a skip stop. And I am happy to say to you, we were able to get them to change their plans. I'm looking forward to having them change their plans with regard to the importance of elevator access at 125th Street. Again, this is something that is so important to our community, and I look forward to working on this. What else did I do? Well, they wanted to stop the M60 bus at Lexington Avenue. We managed to get it to come across from Lexington all the way over to Broadway. And they said, of course, that wouldn't work. But today, that's a route that has more increased ridership than any of the other ones that are out there. So I think that we, the community, know one hell of a lot better than those folks that are down sitting behind their desks. And I will tell you that that's one of the things that I look forward to continuing to ensure, and that is that our community is taken care of.
Thank
Excellent.
you. Thank you, Ted. And I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but with the wonderful advances or interceding in terms of our transportation, Ted has served a number of times as co-chair of Uniform Services and Transportation. Any other
I plead
questions?
guilty.
Are there any other questions for Ted in the room?
Or in terms of his role as, or in terms of assistant secretary?
I see no hands, Laquita, on our end. I see no hands on the Zoom.
Thank you. And so we will move now to hear from Solomon Profet, who has been nominated and accepted the role as secretary. And Solomon is here. Once you unmute yourself, Solomon, can you give us your statement on serving as secretary, maybe something about yourself as well, and what this means in serving the community board in this position?
Sure. Thank you, Laquita. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there with you in person, but I'm glad I can join you virtually. Just for the others that may not know me, or for some of the newer board members, this is the completion of my second year on the board. I was originally appointed back in 2021 by Ms. Gail Brewer, and then I reapplied and got reappointed by our current Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine. In my 2 years on the board, I've served on the Uniform Transportation Services Committee, on the Youth Education Libraries Committee. This past year, I was the Assistant Secretary, and this year I'm hoping to be the Secretary. I take on many roles in our community. I do work with St. Mary's Episcopal Church, which is on 126th Street and Old Broadway. Many different volunteer opportunities there. I'm also a Scoutmaster for a Boy Scout troop in Harlem, and we meet out of St. Mary's. I'm also a Little League coach for Harlem Little League. I currently coach 7 and 8 year olds. I'm also a soccer league coach in the fall. I'm on the Parents Association of my son's school, and I'm currently the technology coordinator there. My previous board experience, I was my son went to a small preschool when I used to live in Brooklyn. It's called the Park Slope Child Care Collective. I was the secretary of that school, and then I was the president, and I kind of led that school through the pandemic, which was probably the hardest job I've ever had to do. But I learned a tremendous amount doing that. I've coached for over 20 years with multiple youth organizations. I've been in scouting for over 20 years. So I try to give as much as I can to this community. I grew up on LaSalle Street. I went to Columbia University School of Engineering. My day job is I run the Cybersecurity Operations Center for the Morningside and Manhattanville campuses for the university. But I like to do a lot of things outside of my day job. And one of those things is helping out my community as best as I can. I always have felt that I've been more of a behind the scenes kind of person. I feel that that's where my strengths are. I feel that with the role as secretary, there's a lot of information to ingest and to make sure that we get it recorded and communicated out, not only to board members, but also to members of the community. I feel like I have the experience to do this role. I feel that I can do it well and effectively. So thank you for listening to me. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Any questions or comments for Solomon?
I have a comment.
Okay, Monique.
You do a lot, Solomon. How do you find time to be a dad?
I know I do a lot. I do the best I can. Sometimes there are things that I can't do. And luckily I do have a supportive family. My wife, without my wife, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of these things. So she's definitely my rock. And I love to serve my community. I always have. My father, who was instrumental in my life, always told me to try to give back to this community. When after leaving Columbia and moving to Brooklyn, I lived there for 17 years. When my wife and I decided where we would go, where we knew we were going to move back to Manhattan, I knew I wanted to come back to this area because this is, it's always been home. We moved here during the pandemic, and I had seen how hard the pandemic had hit our area, and we're still feeling the effects of it. And that's what made me really want to serve and see what I can do to help. I remember when the first month I moved to this neighborhood, back to this neighborhood, I should say. I met Signe. And I see she has her team up to clean up West Harlem shirt on today, and so she did that event, and at that event I met Barry, and at the time I didn't know Barry was the chair. And Barry said, I asked Barry, like, is there more of these community type of things? And he's like, oh, why don't you stop by a community board meeting? And I started attending the community board meetings, not as a member, just as a member of the community. And, the rest is history, I guess.
And
Yep.
Daria has her hand up, Laquita, on the Zoom.
oh, thanks, Barry. Daria?
Signy's like the Pied Piper. She's the reason I came to community board too. Thank you so much for that very comprehensive introduction, Solomon, because we've been on community board together a couple of years and I didn't know all of those things about you.
Right.
So I really appreciate getting to know you better. I have a pressing question. What is the correct pronunciation of your last name?
It's Prophet. The last E is actually silent.
Okay.
It's a French name. I was actually born in Mexico City. I came to the US when I was 2 months old. So my mother is from Guanajuato in Mexico, but she's lived here since 1969. My father, his father was from Haiti, and his mother was from the Dominican Republic. So that's where the Prophet name comes in. It's from the Haitian side. And in French, there's I forgot it. I think it's called the accent aigu. It's like a little E, a little dash that they put over the E. I guess over time and the translation, it just got lost, right? So we just say Prophet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for asking that question, Daria, because I was wondering, thinking that myself. Thank you, Solomon. Any other questions from those present, in person or on who are virtual? Does anyone else see any hands?
I see no hands here.
Thank you so much, Solomon.
Thank you, Laquita.
The next position is that of Assistant Treasurer. And that means we'll hear from Carolyn Thompson, who has not only expressed her intent to run, but has been nominated. And everything is in place for her being a candidate tonight. Miss Carolyn Thompson, may we have a statement from you about this position and your time on the community board?
Okay. I've been on community board 9 since 1990. Appointed by CPG Fields. I got on because
Carolyn, it's a little muffled. I'm not sure. Hold on.
And please repeat, since 19 what?
Yeah, can you start over? Because it was very muffled. Sorry about that, Carolyn.
Technical difficulties, give us 2 minutes.
Did I mute? All right, just talk to the owl.
I've been on community board since 1991, appointed by CPG Fields. I've always been a part of the community, a member of the 30th Precinct Council, still a member of their secretary. I became secretary after 5 years. After that, I went vice chair, I served for vice chair 2 years, another 2 years, another two years. Then I got up and ran for secretary, ran for that for again, then second vice chair for 4 years. Now I'm running for assistant. Right? I've done financial work. When I worked for TLC, I was in the commission. I did that for 7 years. Here with TLC, with cab drivers, yellow cab, black horses, a lot of money involved. So I've had to do that over the years that I was with TLC. Hold on. And so serving there is why I felt that I could run for assistant treasurer, feel that I qualified for the job. Again, I'm so interested in my community. And I serve on uniform service all the time. And I deal with NY public service housing, which is also transit district police department. I do liquor licenses and to approve them, not to approve them for different restaurants that require them, which I'm still doing. At it.
Questions for Carolyn?
Any questions? We did not have a great reception, I don't think, even at the end. I'm sorry about that.
What do you want me to repeat?
No, that's it's
I think
just,
everyone heard her, Laquita.
well, maybe it was just me.
I would recommend turning on closed captions if you have them. They help. As a millennial who is slowly going deaf.
Okay, any other questions for Carolyn? Thank you, Carolyn Thompson. And now for the candidacy of treasurer is Deirdre McIntosh Brown. Deirdre, may we have a statement from you in reference to your service to Community Board 9, a statement on aims, goals, anything we should know in reference to you and your desire to provide service.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I've lived in this community for over 40 years. After emigrating from Jamaica, I graduated from City College. My first encounter with Community Board 9 was back in 1999, when the city of New York decided that it no longer wanted to be landlord to or manage and run buildings in its portfolio. And 12 buildings in my area entered into the TIL program and were successfully converted in 2011. But when at the time of conversion, we were giving the buildings with, in some disrepair. So I visited CB9 to get a letter of support and to make UHAB, who was our advocate and to make all the repairs at their expense. And the housing committee and general board supported us, and the buildings were repaired. I've served as president for my co-op for 7 years and have held various roles as vice president, treasurer, subsequently. We're a thriving HDFC, which provides affordable housing within CB9. So this was a life-changing event for me and the Hamilton Heights Community HDFC. And this was one of the things that inspired me to join the CB9 Community Board. I've been on the board since 2014, serving 1 year as chair of the YEL, and now currently serving as co-chair. And I believe as co-chair of the Youth and Education and Libraries Committee, I have participated in the preliminary budget process where we have worked to prioritize our capital and expense funding needs for the district. I've also participated in discussions with the various city agencies that approve the funding requests for those expenses. I'm running for this role because I'm very much interested in gaining a more in-depth knowledge of how the mayor budgets for our communities, schools, libraries, infrastructure, housing, environments, mental health, and all the other things that we, create a budget for. And I believe that being in this position will help me, enable me to help make a difference and better for our community. I also serve in various roles within the community. I am a minister at my local church. I too was part of Cigna's Team Up to Clean Up. I serve on the board with Ted of the Broadway Malls Association, where we take care of the malls right there on Broadway that run from, I think, 66th Street to 168th Street. I have been a part of the Housing Committee, and I just love my community, and whatever it is that I can do to help us, bring the resources and all the funding and the changes we need to make in our community, I want to be a part of that. And I love serving with the members of Community Board 9. This is my community. My children go to school here. I live here. I love my neighbors, and I want to be a part of making a difference.
Thank you, Deirdre. Any questions for Deirdre as she runs for this position? I don't know if there's any in the chat or any hands up at the location.
I will just say a quick comment. Having been treasurer of the board, the role of treasurer in running our district priorities in terms of what we submit to the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget as what we think need to be funded is a very important one and time consuming. And I have great faith that Deirdre will be a fantastic treasurer in the same way that my late mentor, April Tyler, was. And I know April touched many lives on this board and did a lot of work with both Till Buildings and HDFs. So it seems very fitting, Deirdre, that you are stepping up to fill those shoes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. If there being no other questions or comments for Deirdre, let's move to second vice chair. That position has the nomination of Monique Hardin Cordero. Monique.
Laquita, will you give us half a moment? I'm going to try to improve our reception here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I apologize. I know I was having a little hard time there.
Weren't there Wi-Fi's for us?
Whatever happened at the beginning was fine for me. I'm not sure about others, but however way you had it set up at the beginning was good. Something just changed.
Yeah, I concur.
Carolyn started.
Well, we don't have the cord here. All right, well, continue and I'll fiddle in the background. See if I can get anything going.
Okay.
And then if anyone is having a hard time, because we do want to hear our candidates, just indicate that, you may be having a little difficulty and we can pause again. Are you ready, Monique?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I'm assuming I can hear you. It's
Well, I
a
see
matter of-
heads, I see heads nodding, so I will assume people can hear me. Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for the opportunity to speak to everyone. And sorry, I can't be in person like some of my other predecessors indicated. But of course, I'm there in spirit, and I'm looking to run again as second vice chair because of I would reiterate some of the things that my other colleagues or community board members have noted. I love Harlem. I love Community Board 9. And I would say that I've been a resident of Community Board 9 since '88. So that's quite some time. But as I sit here this evening and reflect, I've actually been a part of the community of Harlem much longer, going back to when I was a student of music and art. And music and art used to be here up on the hill, in the castle. So when I sit and reflect on that, you know, I was here in Harlem back when a lot of people thought that this area wasn't a place to be. And yet I always loved being here and took in the surroundings and the community and the love that I saw people demonstrate when I would walk through the streets of Harlem. But you know, as a student of music and art, I graduated and I also went to Columbia. So I continued my travels within Harlem. So I've been a member of the Harlem community for much longer than when I eventually secured a rental not too far from where I'm at now. But I believe in being the change one seeks. And so because I have a love for my community, if there are things that are going on or happening, I believe that in order to affect change, you have to be willing to step in and take on leadership. And so I've been a member of Community Board 9, and actually I started out as a public member, I want to say in 2016, and I joined the Arts and Culture Community Committee because I am an artist and love the opportunities that I had working with many of the community members. Barry, that's where I met Barry actually, and arts and culture. And of course, working with Deidre and a whole host of other people. But I was appointed officially to Community Board 9 in 2018 and appointed by the Manhattan Borough President, who I had an opportunity to work with outside of the things that I do with Community Board, which I'll share in a moment. But when I was appointed, I believe that's the time too, I eventually continued my work with arts and culture, but at some point in time in 2020, I remember specifically, I moved over to work with the Health and Environment Committee. And as much as I wanted to stay with arts and culture because of my love, I moved to the health committee because my work during the day happens to be in the healthcare field. And when 2020 hit, particularly with COVID, I felt compelled and moved to join that committee to see what I could do to help my fellow Community Board 9 residents to survive and thrive during a terrible time. And I'm still a member of the Health and Environment Committee, where I work with some phenomenal members to help address a number of the issues that plague our community. I was also inspired in being reappointed at that time to serve in a capacity of second vice chair because I wanted to do my part to support those in leadership and to make sure our community board was the type of community board that could set an example and encourage and inspire other community boards to move forward and do a number of different things to support their residents. So my first year was spent learning, and I still try to learn something new each day to be an effective leader. I'm asking for your support to nominate me again because I feel I can do more because I'm better acquainted with the position and feel I could be a more effective leader and working with my executive members in doing what's right by Community Board 9. During the day, I work for a nonprofit focusing on issues of health and trying to make sure that I focus on communities that are under-resourced and trying to educate and empower people. And when I can do that work in Harlem, I do it. One of the things I've taken on this year, which is relatively now a year and a half in, is I co-chair a unique task force. I'm not sure if all community boards have it, but we certainly do because we try to be forward thinking. So I serve as co-chair of the Cannabis Task Force. And, you know, it's a wild ride. Somebody would see me, and even in looking at myself, I wouldn't think I would be a person focusing on that issue. But because I want our community to not just survive, but to thrive, this particular task force that I'm co-chairing, I'm using it. I see it as an opportunity to help our community do better and support our residents, be it economically, be it health-wise, or education. And so I've used that opportunity to reach across the various committees on our community board to bring this particular topic to the top and to see how we can work together to better our community with opportunities. So I'm running again to continue with that. And I also want to use this second go around to try to attend more of my the community board meetings so that I can get to engage with more of the members. I've done some of that work. I hope to get a chance to do more because I love working with all of those who are on here. And I look forward to working with the new people who are coming on board. And I guess I'll stop because I could certainly talk forever and see if there are any questions or comments about anything I've said. And thank you.
Thank you, Monique. Any questions? Someone has a bird's eye view of the room. I don't see any hands up. Any comment or questions for Monique?
We do not have hands here.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So now we'll move forward to first Vice Chair Barry Weinberg has been nominated and secured supporters for that position. And Barry Weinberg, may we have a statement from you on what you hope to achieve and what your experience has been as you work to serve Community Board 9.
Thank you, Laquita. Good evening to everybody, especially to our new members. For those members who are returning or were not up for reappointment, good evening. As all of you will know, I have served as our chair now for two-year terms and am thus mercifully term limited in my role as chair. I have learned that term limits are for the mental health of the chair, but I am very pleased to be running for first vice chair to attempt to continue some of the work that we've been doing and to support our candidate for chair in whatever way I can. So as some context, I was a public member of the Arts and Culture Committee before becoming an appointed member by then Borough President Scott Stringer in 2013. I have served on the Arts and Culture Committee, the Housing, Zoning, and Land Use Committee, and the Same Gender Loving LGBTQ Task Force, which I kind of got created under then Chair Padmore John, who was my immediate predecessor. Throughout the 10 years on the board, I have had a number of fabulous mentors for whom I am deeply grateful, several of whom are no longer with us, including Catherine Abate, April Tyler, Walter South, and a few others. But I have lived in the community for 15 years. It is my home, and I hope to continue to serve. When I became chair in 2019, in summer of 2019, I had big plans. We had big plans for the board, for the office, youth that can attest. And then come winter of 2020, really, in February 2020, all of those plans began to go out the window. And so it has been 4 years of enormous change. We were the first community board to have a general board meeting on Zoom in the third Thursday of March of 2020. And we are, I think, the first community board to have successfully adapted to hybrid meetings. We were the first community board to hold hybrid general board meetings. And we also turned over almost all of our staff during the pandemic, the exception of the great Youth Prince, our district manager, who is not allowed to leave. And we moved into these new offices that are also temporary offices from our old temporary offices where we were for 10, 13 years, somewhere in there.
12 and a half.
Yeah. So new staff, new offices, new format. We kind of just held on for dear life. And so I hope as we adapt to the new normal, we can pick up some of the threads that we were beginning in 2019 when it comes to modernizing our email list and practices, being consistent with our Link NYC advertisements for our meetings, continuing to upload our archive of board meetings to YouTube and posting them on our website so they're easily accessible in the archive, and being more proactive with our postal mail. All of these are things we wanted to do, we began doing, and then we set on the shelf. And so it seems fitting that as we normalize operations and return to in-person meetings, maybe we can continue that effort. And also, I would like to, at Youth's recommendation, and with the chair's permission, begin kind of a year-round budget task force or committee. The Office of Management and Budget has begun taking district need statements 2 months earlier this year. And departmental consultations will be 2 months earlier this year, I believe, right?
Yes.
And so, Youth have pointed out that some other boards have standing year-round committees that work on our budget submissions, and I think that's something that I would be interested in exploring with the new treasurer and the other officers. But I would be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Oh, Daria has her hand up. I see her hand. And there may be others. Daria, you go first.
Actually, I think you answered my question, which was there anything during your tenure that you wanted, that you wish that could still get done? So I think you actually answered that. So I will make my comment, which is, thank you so much, Barry, for being such an excellent leader. And particularly, it's a hard job in general. We are a volunteer organization, and you have led us like a Fortune 500 CEO. And God bless you for all of that, through, when your father's illness and COVID, and you have done an exemplary job. And I just could not, I would be remiss not to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You really have been amazing, and so glad that you'll still be in leadership.
Yes.
Well,
Oops,
thank
Barry
you,
has a response.
Just to answer, if I had to go through everything I wished we had gotten done or been successful at while I was chair, we would be here all night. all seriousness, it has been the privilege of a lifetime to serve this body as chair. And anything that we do does not happen because of one person. It happens because we're all here representing our community, working together to achieve the best things for our community. And also, I would have been flat on my face for 4 years were it not for Ethan Prince, our district manager. And so an enormous amount of credit rightly goes to her.
Absolutely.
But thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
We have a couple more hands and hearts. Juan Colmenares and then Deirdre have questions or statements. Let's start with Juan. I think I saw his name first. Juan?
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's a little, yeah, but go ahead.
I just wanted to say, like a previous caller said, I'm also part of community board because of experiencing Barry ran one of the meetings that I attended as a requirement for my application. And that drove me into being part of this volunteer task force that nobody thanks us for and everybody expects so much out of. I work at A. Philip Randall, so Ms. Hardin Cordero, I've been there a long time and I have met so many people who came from music and art, and it just is heartwarming. I also want to, in advance, say there's so many moments I've had with Barry and that have taught me so much. And I think as a teacher, what drives me is the learning. And I pay attention best when what I'm listening to makes an impact and teaches me something. Mr. Victor Edwards, you have also been an amazing figure in that end. And I just wanted to say those two things and back everybody who's running for a position. That's it.
Thank you, Juan. Deirdre.
Hi, I just wanted to say ditto to what everyone else has said. As I was sitting thinking about Chair Barry, I mean, thank you for your excellent and exemplary leadership, definitely a model to follow. But I went back to housing again, and I thought about when I first met and all the HDFCs before the coalition, all the things that you were hammering out to help with April and then Signe later and everyone else on housing, Ms. Marshall, all those people that were there, hammering out how to save affordable housing in the HDFCs and the project right there on 145th Street with the Madison Boys and Girls Clubs. I mean, you've done so much work with the various committees and the capacities, but I just so remember meeting you and in the middle of winter with your sandals on, I was like, this guy is great, but why isn't his feet cold? But I wanted to say thank you. And I'm so grateful that you will still be here and that in leadership, capacity, and that I'll learn a lot from you. And so we're all just thankful and grateful.
Thank you, Deirdre. Any other questions, comments?
Why would your feet cold?
My feet get very hot, in fact, which is why I wear sandals. Year round.
Dead of winter with
Yes.
snow on the ground.
That's true. That's the one thing I remember about Barry as well. I was like, is this guy crazy or what? But obviously you're not crazy. You're just hot.
Yes.
I was volunteering for a campaign and my nickname became Bernie Sandals.
Thank you.
Carolyn has a
And
question.
now,
Wait,
I'm sorry, there's another comment, I'm sorry, I didn't. Someone, at the
Carolyn
side.
Thompson has a comment. Thank you. Barry, tell him how many times I asked you about your cold feet. Years I asked you about.
Well, I think it's a toss up between whether you or Miss Dunn has asked the most.
It is, I asked about your cold feet. Barry's been
Hello? Is Carolyn speaking?
Yes, she is.
She's saying that Barry has
Thank
been
you.
one of the best chairs we have ever had on CB9, and I concur.
Yes.
Thanks, Signe.
Thank you.
Carolyn, thank you for that. It's just that we do have a sound issue. Thank you, Carolyn, for speaking for so many.
I will say this, I have always striven, whatever that is, to remember Carolyn's example when she chaired the meetings while she was vice chair, because she kept moving and she got us out of there by 9. And I have not lived up to that record, but it is a lodestone and a North Star at the bottom. I remember telling you when you chair, I like it when you chair, we get over.
You don't have to stay in for 2 hours. You have a meeting for an hour, that's it.
And so on that note, our highest officership will be chair, and that candidate is Victor Edwards, who currently serves as first vice chair and has been nominated unanimously for the position of chair. Victor, will you provide us with a statement on yourself, your years with the board, your service to the community, whatever it is you would like us to know in terms of how you would provide your leadership?
Good evening, all. As stated, my name is Victor Edwards. Been in the community for approximately 40 years.
Can we hold for 1 second? Can we adjust the video where we see, I know he's on site, but where we see Victor there? Okay, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's much better.
Okay. What was it? I've been in the community for 40 years, and my professional life prior to the board, I worked for New York City Board of Education as a junior high school counselor for 2.5 years. Following that, I worked for NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority, for 30 years, rising through the ranks from a housing assistant to director of all public housing in Staten Island, and then all public housing in the Bronx. Retired 2010. I did some volunteer work with a couple of different organizations. Some people suggested I join the board, and here I am. I just believe where I live should be as good as anywhere else. And as I drive or walk, I see things out of place. I like to report them so they can be corrected. I've traveled many different places outside the country, within the country, up to the country. And I just think Harlem is a great place to live, and it should be reflective of the people here. And I've served as first or second vice chair 8 years. Thank you. 8 years. I was also appointed as chair of the Strategic Planning Committee by Reverend Morgan Thomas to directly oversee the community benefits agreement with Columbia University, which I took on very seriously, seeing that Columbia gave back to the community after seizing land by eminent domain, which I never agreed with. But since that's done, and they have a written document what they're going to get back, we've tried to hold them accountable to. I stand on the shoulders of those who came before me, Reverend Morgan Thomas, Pat Monjohn, and most recently working with Barry Weinberg. And I intend to live up to those standards, and working closely with my first vice chair and second, I think we can do some very great things. Also, I'm very interested in the young people in the community. Having worked for the Board of Ed and NYCHA, I have a close working relationship with two housing developments here and Columbia as well, just trying to make sure young people get what they need. Great minds have gone to waste. I did a lot of work with prisons, so I got to see what happen when minds just sit idle. People, some do, young people in particular, they can be, I often say to some young people, you can see it, you can be it. And an advocate of making sure our young people in the area, especially going clubbing, so they can see that people look like that they can achieve. I'm going to keep pushing for that. I have a pretty good working relationship with Columbia, with Provost, other people there. Go back and don't know what to agree, but I think
We lost the sound. Oh.
Yeah,
Can you
there's
hear
a
me now?
delay. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
delay.
we've lost the sound. We heard most of everything. It's just now the sound was lost a bit.
okay. I was just
Go ahead,
concluding
Victor.
anyway. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we hear you.
Okay. In concluding, I just want to say that I often say to myself, it drives me, if not us, then whom? If not now, then.
That's right.
I look forward to working with everyone and carrying on some of the things Barry spoke about that he wanted, and I have my own ideas. I started working already on a survey to send out to residents to see what their concerns are, so we can see exactly what. And to let people know we're here. We had a great senior resource fair. I think that opened up the building to the community. I look forward to doing things like that so people know we're here. People walk by and look what it is. Get that out. That's fine. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Victor. Let's see. I don't see who's there. Someone can help if there's a comment from at the site.
There is a hand up, Daria.
And then
there's one in the room after area.
Okay, Daria.
Hey, Victor.
Hey, Barry.
Thank you for running for chair.
Yes, oh my
Thank you.
God.
I just, I was just gonna say what everybody's thinking. Thank you.
It's a close up on his face.
I'm very excited to see you in this role and to see what is coming. I do want to ask you, what are you with all of the things that you do, you have poor thing, you're the one that I text at 6 a.m. like, are you up? Because I gotta ask you a question. With all of the things that you do in the community, and especially with that huge piece of the CBA, what are your top 3 things that you want to really dig in and address during your tenure as chair?
Great question.
Good question.
You're supposed to be his friend, Daria.
That's a great question.
I am. I know that he has so many things. I just want, I mean, if there are more than 3, and there probably are, but
you can list them.
I'm still developing that. That's part of the reason I want to do the survey, to see what our residents' interests are. I have my own, as I walk the streets, I see a lot of things that I want to do, but I want to see what the actual residents in our community, what their, affordable housing, crime, education for young people. As you know, I do work with the Osborne organization, that incarceration, people coming out of incarceration, what are they coming back to? That is a concern of mine that's going to be up there as well. To people have served their time, done. Now what's the next step? Come out and go back to what you're doing. That's what I often say. Or you develop new skills so you can be successful and contribute to the community. So things of that, but I don't have a top 3 at the moment. I'll be sitting in, as I've done on many committees, just kind of hearing what people's concerns are. And as I walk the streets, I often ask people what they can say. I keep working.
So we have someone in the room there, and then there's Solomon and Monique, virtually. So let's start with, let's go next to the person in the room.
The person is Annette Robinson, and I don't have a question, I just have a statement. It's as an existing member, and for those of you that are new here, at Community Board 9, we work as a family. And there was a
Computer, turn it off.
Hello?
Yeah,
Biggie,
was
turn
a
it off.
level of concern who our chair would be, because there's a level of trust amongst us. So I appreciate you, as Darius said, stepping up to the plate. There are so many things that Victor already does behind the scenes, so he just don't put in the hat on, and you are appreciated. Thank you for answering the call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. That's true. Monique and then Solomon. I think
Yes.
that was the order.
So, yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Solomon and then Monique.
Well, it doesn't make a difference. Go ahead, Solomon. Solomon?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to emphasize everyone's sentiments, Victor. I want to thank you for stepping up and taking the role. I remember one night I was talking to my wife about the community board, and she knows Barry personally. And I was telling her about you, and I said Victor's our Batman. He's the guy that if he needs to be harsh or needs to be a bad guy, he can be the hammer. But you always have the community's best interest at heart, and that's I think that's what we all love about you, Victor. So thank you for stepping up. I know you already do so much for us, and a lot of what you do doesn't get seen, but I know you do it out of the kindness of your heart, and like yourself, I'm the type of person that when I came from Brooklyn back to this neighborhood, I realized how I realized the disparity between neighborhoods in New York City, and how things are, the inequality, how things are unfair, how things are just not allocated properly. And I know that you will continue fighting that good fight, and always voicing the concerns of the community, and making sure that we get what we get our fair share, right? That's all we want. We're not asking for any more. And thank you. And I just wanted to make sure you know how much you mean to us. And I didn't get to say anything when after Barry spoke, but I just want to say, Barry, thank you again for everything you have done for this community. All the early morning calls, texts, texts at night. Barry's always reading something, always keeping up to date. And now I can bother Victor. So Daria, you get 6 a.m. and I'll bother him at midnight.
Okay.
Thanks, Solomon.
No
Monique?
Not much more to add, Victor. You know my sentiment. I'm very glad that you stepped up, and I look forward to continuing our work together, the good, the bad, and commiserating as we speak to our significant others. Oh, another meeting? There you go. So I could call you because I know you'll understand. But once again, I'm glad. And like I said, I look forward to working with you in this capacity. So.
We'll be there.
Walter's oh, I'm sorry.
A promise has been made. I
Promises have been made, Monique. We'll be there to support him and take some of those meetings, right?
Yes. Yes. That's the goal indeed.
Okay, Walter.
Well, good evening, all. Victor, I think you're a great guy. I really like your devotion to the community, and you're kind of a role model for me for public service. So this is a question, I guess, and a statement. Okay, so Solomon has the evenings, Daria has the mornings. May I put my bid in for Sunday afternoons?
Walter, you tried that before and you see the results.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. Called me on a Sunday. I didn't answer. He called me Monday. I called you yesterday. You didn't answer. I said, I know. I don't work on
Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. I respect your Sundays,
Oh, my
man.
God, Sunday, he gets a day off.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Walter. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, Victor also, in case a number of people don't know, started a text chain with the chairs, co-chairs. And so a lot of discussions, a lot of issues get brought on the table, or at least gives us something to think about, take back to our committees so that we are aware. And that was really terrific in having us linked together and to stay in touch with each other. And sometimes I think there were maybe as many as 13, but there's a solid group of the co-chairs, and I thought that was a great idea. So we get news articles, comments, something that's heard from someone else that we need to be aware of. So thank you very much for that also, Victor. You have your ears to the ground for sure. Tina's hand is up.
If it wasn't for Victor, I would not be on the community board. I've known Victor long time, and his commitment to the community is awesome and is enviable. It's not like a lot of times he's asked to do things. He just sees something needs to be done and he just does it. And he inspires me to do better as well. And I think that's what a leader is supposed to do, be inspirational. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you, Tina.
Thanks, Tina. There was a pause. Any other comment or question for Victor? Or at this time, any questions that you may want to ask of any of the candidates that you may have thought about after they had spoken, or any comments to be made in reference to anyone? I can't see if there's a hand up there on site.
No one is raising their hand, Lupita, but it may behoove
I
us to
have.
just-
Hearing none.
Well, no.
I have one other closing statement. I'm sorry, Barry. We were talking at the same time.
Go ahead.
I want to thank all of the candidates for being present, and certainly one of the requirements to remain a candidate is that you be present tonight. You all gracefully, dutifully, and beautifully carried out that responsibility. I'm so happy because you are all excellent candidates and leaders. So we were able to accomplish this. The voting will take place on Thursday at our general board meeting, June 15. You must all be present at that time as well. We have the committee, so to speak, hired, in quotes, Signe, enlisted her as our consultant on the elections process, the virtual process. It was she and Anita who devised it in 21. And so much of what we've done, if it, has worked, it was started then, and if it ain't broke, we're not gonna, fix it. Part of her assistance in helping us move forward is a test ballot, doing a virtual test. So I am hoping that the 5 members of our elections committee will participate in that test, And tonight I'm looking for at least 10 volunteers among the people who are who are virtually with us tonight and in the room, who will assist us in doing a test ballot so we can make, and that will be sometime between tomorrow, probably over the next 7 days. So can I get volunteers tonight? About 10 who would participate in our test. I see Daria's hand up. You have to, let's see, Walter, thank you, Walter, because you participated last time. I see Monique.
Heather.
Heather, okay, Heather. Any other names? I see 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 5 more. Who?
Sharon de la Cruz.
Oh, Sharon. Okay, that'll be great. Our new member, thank you.
Any new members can do this as well. It's just going to be a test. We'll open up the test atmosphere for about 2 hours, and then we'll have a recap of it. Oh, wow. So Michael, right? And tell me your name again. What's
the name again? Repeat the name for me, Sydney.
Michael and Clayton Sanford. What does it involve is the question.
We will. Yeah. Okay, Sydney, go ahead.
Yeah. So we have an online atmosphere where we do our voting now. And so we just need 10 volunteers to sign up. You'll get an email from Election Buddy. And you'll go through the process of clicking on the ballot and doing a test ballot. And see if it works. And if there's any issues, we're going to ask you just to, if there's any issues, you're going to recap for us, send us an email, or we'll have a brief call or something to recap if there were any issues before the actual.
And I'll send out, once I have these names, and I hope we do have a number of the new members, I'll get the information from Youtha, and you'll get an email from me and the elections process packet, PowerPoint packet. I have Daria, Walter, Monique, Heather, Sharon, Michael, Clayton. Who are the other names? Oh, Patricia Ramos.
I'll get you.
Who else? Sydney, I can't see who's there.
Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you said Patricia too?
Yeah, Patricia Ramos, yes. And then if we could get, if we have the 5 committee members, that would at least give us 14.
Yeah, that should be plenty. I don't think we can go over 20.
Yeah, no,
I think that's plenty.
Because there's a possibility that someone may drop out or not be available.
Or not be able to do it. It'll be an open period of like 2 hours where you can go anytime in those 2 hours, and then we'll just do a recap sometime after. So.
Okay, thank you very, very much. So I will get that information from Youtha on tomorrow, and just look for an email from the elections committee and with Sydney, where we we'll put out some dates that hopefully will work for the majority, and then provide instructions from that point. Okay, and that concludes the elections committee presentation.
Sydney,
Unless there's something else.
Sydney, I'm sorry. Somebody else wanted to volunteer. Do you need them?
God Keel.
Let's get their name just in case.
We've got it.
Yeah, those are our backups. Got it.
And before we motion to adjourn, I just want to encourage everybody. This is our last meeting before we go on vacation. We've become very accustomed to sitting in our chairs at home, but it would really be nice. It's an election that if we can make it to come in person so we can connect and bond with each other again. Let's make the effort to show up.
Very good. The next meeting will be, you talking about general or not, or executive? And then
General.
General board meeting at the Forum at Columbia, 601 West 125th Street on the northwest corner of Broadway and 125th Street.
Very good.
Thursday at 6:30 PM. Are we in the lobby or the auditorium?
We're in the lobby.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Let me say.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. on the
Robinson
main-
has moved to adjourn. All those in favor say
Second.
aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed?
Congratulations.
have
All the great-
All right.
Just so you guys are new, I want to get your emails real quick, just in case.
I have it. I have it.
You have everything. Okay, all right, never mind. She's got
You've
it.
been getting my emails, right?
Yeah. Okay.